Okay, so now we're going to kind of go through the drawing guides and just make sure we have a good handle on what's expected for you to do. So the first one that I'm looking at here, this is actually from assignment 5A. So this is the tube hanger. Okay, so the tube hanger, you already created the 3 views in module 3. Okay, so you want to go back to module 3. And what you're going to do is you're going to open up, in this case, an inch template, but then you're going to insert the 3 views that you see here in a 1-to-1 scale. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to pull in B-size border. Okay, and it's going to be in 2 times. I checked it. I checked them. So it's going to be a 1-to-2 scale. So that means you're pulling in the border 2 times as large. Okay. When you do that and you place it around, again, make sure that as we look at this, you're spacing out the views. You might have drawn them closer together, which is fine, but now you want to space them out so that you have room in between to do the dimensioning you do. Now, as we look here, I don't think there's anything actually on this particular drawing dimension-wise that is anything different than what we've already done. Okay, so make sure you're following along with me because I'm pointing out important things so that as you're handing things in, you have the information that you need. Okay. All right, so that's the tube hanger. I don't think there's anything earth-shattering on that one. Let's look next at the connecting rod. Okay, now connecting rod, as you can see here, as we look at the dimensions, now this is another one that you already did. So you're going to pull up your template blank, and this is going to be an inch template. You're going to insert from block libraries your connecting rod at a 1 scale, and then you're going to be pulling this border in 1.5 times. So not 2, but 1.5. Okay. That means then when you pull it in at a different scale, you're going to go to the appropriate dimension style. You're going to go to modify, and you're going to go to the fit tab. And down here, you're going to see that you're going to turn, and yours won't be on, but you're going to have this overall scale. That needs to match whatever the scale was that you pulled your border in at. So for this one, this is going to be 1.5. For the other one, it's going to be 2. But if it's 1, then you don't have to change it. Does that make sense? So when you look at your dimensions and what the size of the text is, you always want to compare it. Not that it's exactly the same in the title block, because I think the title block text is just a little bit smaller, just so that just a little bit larger, just so that it kind of, you can see it more easily. But you're going to notice that it's about the same size. If it's half the size or double the size or something, then you know that you have to go to that fit tab in the dimension manager and fix that up. Okay. So that's that. You're going to notice that we have typical. Okay. TYP. All that means is there are 2 places where this dimension is shown. And rather than showing it on both places to crowd the drawing up, it's going to be typical. So notice here on the other side, it would be the same dimension. Okay. So you'll see that in a couple spots. So when you put the dimension in at 0.5, you're going to double click on it. You're going to go to the end of that dimension, and then you're going to do space TYP. That's it. Okay. All right. So make sure you add those. Make sure when you dimension as a radius, because then it'll automatically put the R in front. So radius dimension is going to be up here. Same thing with diameters. You'll have the diameter, but for here, we need 2 of them. So you're going to double click, and in the front, you're going to put 2 by space before the diameter symbol. Okay. So make sure that you make that space because we want to see that it's 2 by. It's not by 2, and it's not a lowercase x. Every single piece of text that's on a drawing is in uppercase, no exceptions. Okay. So make sure that you abide by those rules. So those I think are pretty straightforward. You'll notice over here, you have a 1-inch dimension with parentheses around it. All that is a reference dimension. Okay. And that reference dimension is there because it is identified in our right side view, the 1-inch dimension here. So on either side, in this view, it's kind of, if you would, 2 views away. If you're wondering like, what size is that? I thought it would be good experience to put it in as reference. You have to put the parentheses around, otherwise somebody might interpret it as a regular dimension, and the regular dimension only can be found once. So if you repeat for clarity anywhere else, you have to put parentheses around as a reference. Now, this one right here, this is going to go in as a linear dimension, but we're showing it as the outside diameter of a tube in its rectangular view, which is by standard, that's the preferred method. Here is going to be, again, a double click. And then right before, you're going to go to symbols, and right on top here is diameter. You'll click on that and it'll automatically go in place. You don't even really have to do much else, okay? So that's how you get at that one. Now, the detail. This was a little different, okay? If you recall from our tech drafting, you can add these details so that you can get, if you would, more information. So as we know, we cannot dimension to hidden lines, okay? So what do we do? What we can do though is we can make like a little breakout section, they call it here. So I have a circle around. Notice that the circle is on the dimension layer, okay? And then there's simply just a line going to it, and then it's called detail A. That detail will be over here for you to dimension, okay? And what we want to get at is, what is the depth of that recess on the front and the back, okay? And we can't get at it in this view because it would be dimensioning to a hidden line. So notice what we did here. We broke it out. We just wanted to go deeper into, and the area that's within the confines of this circle is now going to be lines that are visible, okay? And then in between, it's a section line where you would cut through material to get at those visible lines. So all this is if I delete this out of here, okay? Once I have my lines as object lines inside the circle only, okay? And this circle can be, it's a random size. I didn't put it to any particular, just to get enough information. There are enough area. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the crosshatch. And then as we know, the crosshatch is right here in the draw command. I'm going to click on that. Make sure that you have ANSI 131 or ANSI 31, sorry. And then we're just going to click in this area, and then that's going to be your hatching. If you need to change the scale of it, if you want it closer together or further apart, you can change that 0.5 to 1 seem to be appropriate. So that's good. So we'll just put it back to 1. All right. And then all you do is you copy this over here and add the dimension. That's it. Okay. So that now we can get at, you know, everything as a visible line, as opposed to, you know, having to, or not being able to because it's hidden. All right. So that is the connecting rod. So that's the only kind of special thing there, but I think you can make that leap. All right. The next one we have is going to be the bearing base. Okay. You'll notice here, I think all the dimensions look pretty normal. Okay. Nothing, you know, out of the ordinary here. Here again, when you pull those views in, don't forget to explode those views so that then you can push them apart to take up space on what here is a B-size border. There is a note down here. So to put this note in, okay, all you're going to do is you're going to go to the Annotate tab, and over on the left-hand side, there's this multi-text. Just click on that, multi-text again, and it's saying create an annotative object. You can just say okay here, and all you're going to do is you're going to create a box. So I left click, and then now you can put, whoopsie, your note in there, okay? Blah, 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 blah. And then you can, yeah. Do I want to save? Sure. Okay. And then once you have that in place, you can then just click on it, and then you can move it wherever you want it to go. Okay. So, so that's adding a note. That might be something that's just a little bit different, but make sure you put that note on there. Then you don't have to dimension each one of the individual fillets. You're giving it a, you know, a dimension in that note. All right. And the last one from assignment 5A is the shaft support. This one is our metric drawing, okay? So for this one, you're going to be pulling in the, if you would, I'm saying in quotes, a B-size metric drawing, which is an A3. It's an A3. You're going to bring it in 2 times the scale, okay? And then that means that you're going to be going to your dimension style, modifying your dimension manager, modifying, going to fit, changing this to 2, okay? changing that to 2. Now, as we look around, I think everything on here should be, again, pretty doable. You'll have to add the symbol here for the diameter of 46, but you do that by double clicking, getting into that editing mode, and you'll go to symbols and diameters right here, okay? Adding typical is just double clicking, space after the 0, and then TYP. 2 by, don't forget, not by 2, it's 2 by, the number first, then the X, capital, and then space between. And otherwise, everything else here I think is okay. One other thing on here that you might run into, because this is a metric drawing and because the line type scale might be super small because it's millimeters. When you put in line type scale, I'm going to do that right now, LT scale, okay? You're going to notice, if you can see my screen, it's at 25.4. Does that sound familiar? The number 25.4. That's how many millimeters are in an inch. So when AutoCAD sets up their spacing for their line styles, it's based on an inch increment. So all you have to do is you're going to factor that up. So when you start showing hidden lines, you're going to be like, they look solid, or the center lines look solid. What you're going to do is you're going to put in a scale 25.4 times, okay? The LT scale. And then that way they'll show for you and you'll start seeing them because they're really tiny, if you would, based on the size of the font, how it was set, or the line type, how it was set up. Okay. So I wanted to call that to your attention. So those are the 4 drawings that you have to do in assignment 5A. Okay. So again, you've done all the views already. You're pulling them in, adding a border, dimensioning, and you're on your way. The last 3 that you're going to do are going to be the last 3 in the assignment 5B. We did one already. We did the index feed top to bottom. So that we did as part of our lecture this evening. So that one you have done. Obviously, if you have to go back in and fix that up or finish it up, you obviously can. Here, you're going to notice this is the roller stud. Okay. So this one, for 5B, all of these drawings, you have to start from scratch, okay? So if we look here at the drawing guide, this is a millimeter drawing. So you're going to notice that it has, all the tolerances and dimensions are in millimeters. This is an A3, so it's the B size of the A borders, or I'm sorry, of the metric borders, okay? So A3 is what you're pulling in. It's 1-to-1 scale. All right. And then the only thing that you're really going to notice here as far as dimensioning is that you have to do the limits here. So you have to just remember when you draw this, what was the size that you made it to? Because then that's going to dictate how, high and low those values are going to be. Okay. So there's 1, 2, 3 of those. Okay. And then the rest are, I think, if you would, normal dimensions. Okay. So there's that one. The drawings for these, or the views for these, you're going to find are in the tech drafting book. Okay. So 5A assignment is out of the AutoCAD book. 5B assignment is out of the big tech drafting book. All right. That's the roller. Here's the cam. This is another one that you're going to be doing. Okay. Don't worry about the center line. I have that in there. I was being a little, I don't know. You don't have to put the center line in there unless you want to explore how to do it. Go ahead and see. All right. There is a center line symbol. I believe it's a symbol. So you can put that in. Notice here, a couple of things. I had to put the gap in here because I can't have an extension line crossing a dimension line. So you have to move your dimension over. Okay. And then add a line to ensure that there's a gap between the part and that you're not intersecting over the top of a dimension line. Okay. You can intersect extension lines. I don't know if I see any here, but extension line on a dimension is this line right here. This line right here, the horizontal line. Dimension line is the one that has the arrowhead with the numbers. Okay. Those cannot be intersected. Here's, you have limits, or reference dimension. Oh, and then here, not an extra detail, but just a circle so that we can see this edge as a visible line. So it's kind of like we're cutting in the inside of it, but we're not creating a whole new view. So that way you can dimension to that visible line there, okay? So then you can get the dimension to the hole. So duplicating that. And then the last drawing that you have is the chuck jaw, okay? The chuck jaw is here. Here you have a couple limit dimensions, so watch those. On here, there are both 2-place and 3-place decimals. You have a counter bore call out, okay, for those 2 counter bores. You're going to notice you have a little breakout section here, okay, to grab the end of that radius. And then getting the dimension in for these radiuses, okay? To get the dimension in for these radiuses, I'm going to click on it. You're going to go into the dimension manager, okay? And we're going to go to modify. And we're going to go to the fit tab, okay? You'll notice that you have to click on arrows and you need to click in beside the dimension line, okay? Watch this dimension right here, all right? If I go over dimension line, it's going to do the outside. That's what it normally will do. I believe that that's what it's set at when you pull in, when it's just an standard setup. You need to check beside the dimension. Otherwise, you're going to get them all pointing, okay? And where we need them to be, I'm just going to cancel out of here. We need to see that they all share the same center. Do you see that? Okay, so this radius, and that radius. Okay. So just wanted to point that out. So again, you're going to go into the dimension style, modify the fit tab, and you want to go arrows and beside the dimension line. Okay, so that's where that is. Okay. All right. And I believe that's the last drawing that that I just wanted to kind of go over and kind of point some of those little things out that you might come upon that we hadn't encountered, but now you know. Now you know. As we look at these, are there any questions on anything? Okay. You probably will have questions as you start looking. Oh, I see there's something in the chat. Can you go over the detail view again? Okay. So that is going to be back over like this one, or on the this guy here, this one, the connecting rod. Yep. Okay. So here we have the connecting rod. So you'll notice here that we're going to use the dimension layer to just create a random size circle. Okay. That's just large enough to kind of get that end in there. Okay. And then you're going to make the lines that would have been hidden just inside of that circle. Object lines or visible lines. And then the area in between here is going to be a crosshatch. Okay, so back on the home menu, you would then make sure you're on your crosshatch layer. I'm going to get it out of here for a second. And then you would simply click in that area with the crosshatch feature. Click in there, and then that's going to add your crosshatch. Do you need more than that, Dominic? And then you'll copy this over. So this is just a copy, and you'll go over here, and this is where you would dimension it then off of the part. It kind of breaks it out so that you can, and then you want to make sure that you just show detail A, detail A. Okay. Is that what you're looking for? How would you specify to copy that? Oh, all you do, because you would have these all separate lines now. So you're just going to go copy or copy, okay, and copy. And I'm going to just put a line, or I can even grab all of this, okay? And then what you'll do is enter. I'm just going to move it up here, okay? And then the only thing I have to do is I have to add the outside line because that was a continuous line through. So then I'm just going to go back to my object line, do a line, and go start from here and go all the way. Wait, I'm gonna have to go ortho. There we go. Yes, I'm gonna have to go past it and then trim, and then the same thing over here. So then I'll grab it, kind of get it in line, and then past it and then trim. Yeah. And then you would, you know, you can see here, you would put the detail A underneath here, and then you would dimension it as you see. Is that helpful? Got it now. Okay. All right. Good. Good, good, good. Any other questions? Okay. And like I said, as you're working, I'm sure things will come up, which is very typical and understandable. So so then I'll let you guys you know, kind of work from here. Let me stop the recording.